Hey guys, Victor here, coming to you with another deck profile, and for today's video we're going to be doing an updated Lightsworn deck. And when it comes to Lightsworns itself, it's still a deck that does struggle to go first, but when it's able to go first, and this is basically what the deck is going to be geared towards, going first every single time, the boards that it makes are honestly still really impressive and very difficult for most decks to deal with. And the trade-off is basically, for being able to put up such impressive boards, every other game you're essentially just going to draw triple Wulf and Felis. You know, I don't make the rules. That's just how Lightsworn works, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you're sitting. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into it. As always, we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup, and because this is a Lightsworn deck, that means that essentially 95% of the deck is monsters, so strap yourselves in because this may take a while. But yeah, even so, we're going to be starting off with 3 Lightsworn Dragonling. In pure Lightsworn, this is by far one of, if not the best cards in the deck, as if you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you're able to special summon it from your hand, so it's a free extender. Then, when this card is special summoned, it foolishes any Lightsworn monster, spell, or trap from your deck to the grave. So, this card on its own basically just gives you full combo, provided it's special summoned. So, and like I said, it's a Lightsworn deck, so it should be pretty easy to special summon this card at some point. And as for its third effect, when it's sent to the graveyard, and this is one of the few Lightsworn monsters that doesn't need to be sent from deck to grave. As long as it goes to grave, its effect will activate to search out any dragon with 3000 attack, 2600 defense. So you can either search out the Judgment Dragon, or you can search out the newly reprinted Punishment Dragon that just got announced for Bonanza. So, you know, you have choices now instead of just having to go for JD if you can't afford the Punishment Dragon and vice versa. So yeah, then to go with our 3 Dragonlings, we're playing 3 Weiss Lightsworn Archfiend. It takes your bricks in the form of Felis and Wulf, stacks it on top of your deck, special summons itself, and then it mills 2 cards, including the card you just put on top. So, you know, just at helping you fix your hands, set up board presence. It's a level 4 light tuner. This card is phenomenal at helping you advance your game state. And because it's a light fiend monster, that also means that it gives us full access to the Fiendsmith engine, which we are going to be including in this deck. So if you're not interested in that, feel free to either skip that section or just leave the video. It's up to you. But yeah, much like Dragonling, this card is phenomenal at what it does. And I don't know, like you got to be playing 3 and 3 of each. And then for the final 3 of Lightsworn Monster, we're playing 3 Wulf Lightsworn Beast. It's Wulf, you mill it, it's special summoned. If you draw it, better pray you have a Weiss or some way to get it back in the deck. That's it for the 3 ofs. We don't play any 2 ofs, but we do play a couple 1 ofs, being the 1 Felis, essentially Wulf, but if it's milled by a spell, you don't get to special summon it. We have Raiden, which is essentially going to be like our only normal summon in the deck. And you don't even have to normal summon it, right? You can mill it and then get it back through other methods that we have, such as the Weiss and some other cards that I will be showcasing later. But during your main phase, you get to mill 2 cards, and then during the end phase, you get to mill 2 more cards. The end phase effect basically never comes up because this card is always going to be linked, synchroed, exceed, summoned away. But yeah, just 1 Raiden, perfectly fine. And then for the final card of the Lightsworn engine, we're playing the 1 Judgment Dragon. It could be Punishment, but I don't know. I just feel Judgment Dragon is fine just because there's a lot of situations that I find myself in where I actually want to summon this card before I summon the Minerva. And there are times where the blowing up effect is more impactful than shuffling every card back. However, something to consider is that if you play Punishment Dragon, you will have an easier time against like the shifter decks. So because all you have to do is pay 1,000 life points and then you shuffle everything back, right? And that's honestly pretty strong, especially when you're playing against a deck such as like Ritual Beast or Fluandries, for example, which may not see as much play as they should, but they should be like on the back of your mind because you never know when they might pop up, as they're both well, not cheap and affordable, but they're very easy to pick up and people love their shifter decks. So yeah, if you want to play Punishment Dragon, by all means go for it, but I just prefer Judgment Dragon for now. That's for the Lightsworn portion, and then we are playing a Bystial engine as well, just because they pair very nicely with the Lightsworn cards. So you play your 3 Bystial lubellions to search out your Bystial monsters, being the 1 magnamhut, the 1 druiswurm, the 1 saronir, and the 1 baldrake. I just wanted 1 of each, just because you basically want to have as many options as possible to special summon. And I guess you could make an argument for going for 3 druiswurm, for example, but like I said, I want to be able to summon as many as possible during each turn, and you can't really do that if you play multiples of each name. But they're perfectly fine at what they do. They go for rank 6 plays, they help you synchro, link, disrupt your opponent's plays. They're basically the perfect offensive slash defensive mixed cards because you can really use them in pretty much any way that you imagine. So yeah, these guys, phenomenal. Then we're just playing the other cards that help the deck out, but aren't necessarily related to the Lightsworn stuff. So we got the 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You see these in literally every single deck that I play, just because we cannot play through Mold, Charmy, Fualos without this card. If your opponent doesn't Fualos you, fantastic. If they do, you better pray you have it. But yeah, that's literally all it's for. It literally does not contribute to our plays pretty much ever. Then for the Fiendsmith engine, we're playing the 2 Fiendsmith engravers, where you're still trying out the 1 Lacrima, the Crimson Tears. I still don't know how to feel about this card. It just seems so unnecessary, just because we do have access to Necroquip Princess. If we were playing cards like Desiree and Sequence, this would probably be better, but because the extra deck is honestly pretty tight, we're basically just using this as a potential normal or extender that can get back key resources during our opponent's turn, as if it's in the graveyard, you basically shuffle this card back into the deck, and then you get to special summon a link monster from your graveyard. So you can get like a Requiem. You basically only get Requiem, but that Requiem will in turn be able to tribute summon itself to special summon out either an engraver or the Lacrima from your deck. So it's fine, but it's very, very rarely used. Then we're still playing the 1 Fable Lurrie because it's Fable Lurrie. Then for the other cards, we play the small Dragon Engine to complement our Chaos portion, or just like our Synchro plays. So we play the 1 Chaos Dragon leavianeer. Whether you're looping, destroying, or reborning, this card is phenomenal at what it does. We play the 1 Ringowurm, which I'm still a really big fan of, as if you've summoned a level 8 or higher Synchro monster at all during your turn, you can banish this card to summon a level 2 Turner token. And that little token honestly just opens up so many plays. Especially one of the favorite things that I like to do with it is I banish the Ringowurm, summon the token, and then I tend to synchro that with like my Bystial lubellion that I have on the field. That in turn gives me access to an easy Bystial Dissipator. Yeah, just another extender that activates in the grave, or if you can summon it or whatever, it's fine too. And then for the final dragon complement, we're playing the 1 Starliege Seyfert. It's not that big of a deal to play more than 1. If you draw it, fine, you can like normal summon it, then send itself to add like Dragonling, for example. Or if you have like a higher combination, like you've opened up Judgment Dragon, which is no bueno, right? You send the JD, add Bystial lubellion. It has cute uses like that, but the main value that you get out of this is because we're milling our entire deck essentially on turn 1, you're going to be banishing this to give you access to pretty much whatever you need, right? You can reuse your Judgment Dragons, you can add back your Chaos Dragon leavianeers, and then things just really do get out of hand once this card is in the graveyard with something else to pair with it. We are just playing 1 random Performage Trick Clown. It's a level 4 that brings itself back from the grave when it's sent to the grave once per turn. Sure, you lose 1,000 life points, but it doesn't really matter. And then we have our shufflers in the form of Mudora, and we are going to be playing Keldo this time. So with that, that's the main deck, and now we can finally move on to the SpellTrap lineup. The SpellTrap lineup is going to be really small and really straightforward. We're playing 3 Charge of the Light Brigade to mill 3 and search out any Lightsworn card, 1 Fiendsmith track for our Fiendsmith engine, 1 Branded Regain to shuffle back our key cards, and then just, since this is a light and dark deck, it does complement really well when you have like a Bystial or whatever. We're playing the 1 Foolish Burial because it basically means we have access to whatever 1 card that we may need. We have 1 Call by the Grave to go with our Ash Blossoms to stop Fualos, but it's because we have going first in mind. Hopefully this is also able to stop Dimension Shifter. Pretty unlikely because it's a 1-of, but it has happened before. And that's it for the spells. And then for the traps, we're just rocking the 1 Lightsworn Aegis, as this is pretty much like our end-all be-all to be able to prevent our board from being broken through cards like Droplet, Dark Ruler No More, Evenly Matched, things of that nature, because this deck does not have a real Omni Negate. So we rely on cards like Lightsworn Aegis to just prevent our opponent from being able to completely demolish our board. And with that, that's the spell and trap lineup, and now we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now for the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with the Synchro monsters first, and as a result, we're going to be playing the 1 Minerva Synchro. We're typically going to be using 2 Lightsworn monsters to make this to begin with, so that in turn means that you get to Foolish on summon 2 Lightsworn monsters from your deck to the grave with different types. So you typically are going to send like a Weiss with either a Wulf or a Felis, depending on what you have in your graveyard, or you can even make like an argument for sending Dragonling in some situations if you really need the JD. But yeah, this card really solid, and if that wasn't good enough, after that, during your main phase, you can banish up to 4 Lightsworn monsters from your graveyard to mill 4 cards. So a potential mill 6 for free, essentially, is pretty solid. The only other level 8 that we're playing in this specific version will be Psy Frame Lord Omega. just to be able to loop our opponent's hand, recycle cards like our shufflers. It pairs very nicely with cards like Branded Regained, for example, because you're able to activate your Omega's effect, take a card out of your opponent's hand. If it happens to be a light or dark monster, you take that card, put it to the bottom, and draw a card. And then when this card's in the graveyard, it also shuffles back something from either your grave or your opponent's grave back into the deck along with the Omega. So this card is extremely resilient, and it's just phenomenal. Then for the other synchros, we're still playing the one Chaos Angel to help us break our opponent's board and potentially set up a monster that they will be having difficulty outing, and the one Bystial Dissipator, which, I mean, this card, it's pretty good. It's able to special summon back your banished monsters, so whatever you're summoning is going to be pretty impactful, right? But because we play cards like Sideframe Lord Omega, we can use our Dissipator to bring it back and then loop a second additional card. And because of how like our board is set up, that second card can normally just end the game right then and there, as our opponent is only going to have 4 cards to be able to try to deal with our multiple interaction board. And then its other effect, you're able to shuffle back like your lights and darks, and not just yours, your opponent's too. And then depending on where it's shuffled back from, you either get to destroy a monster that activated its effect, or you get to negate that effect. So yeah, Dissipator, it's a ridiculous card in this deck. And that's it for the synchros. And then for the exceeds, we're playing the Minerva exceed to mill 3 and potentially draw, Dugares to be able to draw, Reborn, boost our attack. That one almost never comes up. We're typically only going to be using the Reborn and the draw 2 discard one, but you know, you better stay prepared because sometimes it will come up. Very rarely, but sometimes. And then we're playing the one number 41 Bagooska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, so that we don't auto lose to cards like Dimension Shifter or Droll. Then for the rank 6 that we played, the one DDD Wave High King Caesar. We're not playing Pilgrim Reaper this time just because the deck already mills enough. And Pilgrim Reaper is basically just going to be like it's a very much a last resort type of thing. We're just going to make the High King Caesar and make sure that we don't lose to Nibiru. That's it for the Exceed monsters. For the fusions, we play 1, being the Necroquip Princess, as this in turn allows us to essentially just make the Caesar immediately. And then we play a bunch of Link monsters, being the Fiendsmith Requiem to cheat out our Engravers and Lacrimas, Moon of the Closed Heaven if you just have 2 random monsters on the field to be able to go into your Fiendsmith engine. Play the IP Masquerena to go into your SP Little Knight. The one Hieratic Seals of the Heavenly Spheres, which is going to be like one of the more important end pieces, as being able to bounce back a face-up card on the field back to the hand, and then in turn, because this card was tributed, being able to special summon any dragon from your deck. It's pretty good, and not only that, but this is also one of those other cards that gives you resiliency to cards like Nibiru, as Nibiru will tribute this, and then you get to special summon from your deck and hopefully continue comboing off. But yeah, I really like Heavenly Spheres in the Lightsworn deck just because we play so many dragons and the synergy that it offers you is just unmatched. And then for the final monster, we're playing the one Saryuja Skuldred. It's very easy to just clog up your field, so having something like Saryuja to be able to clean up your board, draw 4, put 3 bricks on the bottom of your deck. You get free special summons, you get to boost monsters by their 300 attack. And then, because it's a dragon, you get to link it off into like your Heavenly Spheres. So yeah, this card is phenomenal. I love it. And with that, that's the Lightsworn deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!